While it comes as bad news for us, humans, this has been a big year and arguably the best one yet for climate change. Climate change is the long-term shift in the Earth's average temperatures and weather conditions. Throughout history, climate has changed naturally. But what's happening today is far from natural. In fact, it's man-made. It is being caused by the widespread use of fossil fuels like coal, oil and gas in our factories, our homes and our transport systems. So, over the last century, the planet has witnessed rapid warming. As a result, weather patterns are changing. The problems are snowballing and climate records are tumbling at a galloping pace. Here's how 2024 has set unwanted new records. This has been the hottest year on record. Yes, the year is not over yet, but scientists say it's virtually certain that we have broken the record, because every single month this year has been the hottest on record, barring the months of September and November. They will have to make their peace with a silver medal because they were the second hottest September and November months after last year's records. But this isn't just the hottest year on record. It has also passed a crucial and dangerous climate threshold. This has been the first year to have an average temperature of more than 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, which marks a further escalation of the crisis. While it may not sound like much, 1.5 degrees is one of the clearest markers of the climate catastrophe that's unfolding. And remember, this catastrophe is playing out on both land and water. Oceans have witnessed a record-breaking year of heat, and how? They experienced an entire year of unprecedented heat, with a new temperature record being broken every day according to data. So why is this concerning? Because our oceans are like get-out-of-jail cards when it comes to climate change. Oceans absorb about a quarter of the carbon dioxide that humans produce, and they soak about 90% of the excess heat. But they've absorbed so much of it that they are feeling the heat quite literally. With the average surface temperatures of global oceans breaking records, sea levels are rising, marine life has been hit hard, and corals have experienced a new wave of bleaching. After oceans, moving on to the frozen Arctic, which is slowly going from a white wonderland to a blue disaster. The Arctic is a polar region located in the northernmost part of the Earth. 2024 has brought the second warmest temperatures to the Arctic. Its sea ice has declined by more than 12% every decade since 1978. That is 80,000 square kilometers of ice being lost every year, which is roughly the same size as Austria or the Czech Republic. It has been known for a while that it won't be long before the Arctic witnesses its first ice-free day. But this year, scientists predicted exactly when it would happen. In the summer of 2027, the Arctic would be ice-free, which is much sooner than earlier predicted. But the Arctic isn't the only polar region braving the dramatic repercussions of climate change. so is Antarctica, the southernmost part of the Earth. The driest, windiest, coldest and iciest continent on the planet. Thanks to climate change, its iceberg-flanked passageways are going green. As the crisis heats up the icy continent, plant cover across the peninsula has soared more than tenfold over the past few decades. Moss growth is increasing. Native flowering plants are spreading rapidly. This year, with more melting snow on the peninsula, green algae is blooming across greater surface. And Antarctica is greening at a dramatic rate, showing that even vast and isolated regions are being affected by climate change. And this isn't the only case of its kind. Along with the coldest, one of the driest regions in the world is transforming too. The Sahara Desert is one of the most arid and barren places in the world. But this year, its rolling sand dunes were etched with large lakes because the desert was hit with its first flood in decades. It does rain in the Sahara, usually just a few inches per year. But this September, over a few days, intense rain fell over the desert, and some parts experienced 8 inches of rain. This may sound like good news, but it's an extreme weather event. This year, all kinds of environmental disasters have dominated the headlines. From wildfires and floods to record-breaking pollution. But this tumultuous year has also witnessed some positive milestones for climate change and nature. In case they've gone under your radar, here are some of the remarkable achievements. This year, scientists discovered the missing part of the climate puzzle: clouds. They discovered that the rapid surge in warming is being supercharged by the lack of low-lying clouds. Low clouds reflect sunlight. A dearth of them means lesser sunlight is reflected and the planet heats up faster. This discovery can help us come up with solutions to combat global warming. Speaking of climate solutions, renewable energy is more widely accepted now. Wind and solar energy have become the fastest growing electricity sources in history. Global energy investment is set to exceed $3 trillion for the first time this year, with $2 trillion going to clean energy technologies and infrastructure. Meaning more countries are transitioning to cleaner energy and reducing their dependence on coal, oil and gas. And it's not just countries. More than half of the biggest companies the world over have successfully cut emissions this year, including Microsoft, Apple and Google. This is certainly a win, but there's a long way to go. While 2,000 of the biggest companies worldwide have committed to net zero emissions, only 1 in 6 of them are currently on track to reach net zero emissions in their operations by 2050. If targets and deadlines are not met, net zero emissions is just a dream and not a real goal. That being said, another climate goal was achieved this year. Over the past few years, pressure has been building on the World Bank and International Monetary Fund to change how they help developing nations adapt to climate change. So finally, this year, they made some changes. They agreed to pause debt and interest payments for nations hit by natural disasters. And finally, this was a big year for conservation, with France and Brazil joining forces to protect the oceans, and the launch of the National Ocean Biodiversity Strategy in the United States to share knowledge for ocean conservation. These climate wins are a few bright spots amidst the looming crisis. But silver lining aside, 2024 was a scorcher. And 2025 is on track to join the same club. But based on the trends this year, we can expect climate activism going strong, we can expect more lawsuits against fossil fuel companies, and hope for improved climate action in the year ahead.